So, ladies and gentlemen, look towards me. You ever notice? Jesus Christ is so professional. So, remember how last time I told you that we are going to talk about how after the Vikings invaded King Alfred's kingdom and drove him out of power, how King Alfred managed to so perfectly lead the couple of men he had left that he managed to turn them into a force that overthrew those very Vikings. Now, the thing is, the leadership tactics King Alfred used, they're a lot more prominent in the story of how Genghis Khan turned from an outcast in the Mongolian steppes to one of the most powerful men history has ever seen. Now, Genghis wasn't always the powerful dictator most know him as. See, in his tribe, his family was, one of the poorest, most unfortunate, and powerless. After dealing with non-stop ill treatment from everyone in society, Genghis snapped, and he was enraged enough to not just want better circumstances for himself, he wanted revenge. But he had learned enough to know that he couldn't overthrow any armed force on his own, but instead of letting that be a limitation, he turned that into an angle to gather fellow outcasts and clansmen like himself. See, Genghis wasn't the only man who was suffering. No, there were many more like him who we will call the first members of the first miniature Mongolian army. Genghis used the argument that these people are treating us below our worth and we need to take power from them to give ourselves and our families a better life. Just like that, Genghis created a fierce brotherhood who saw Genghis as their only pathway to giving themselves and their families a better life. But the rival tribe wasn't just going to roll over and hand itself to Genghis now, was it? Well, him and the tiny cult he built did not have enough resources to prepare for a war against this tribe. And they knew that, so they had to think of something, and they had to think of something fast, because if their movement gets discovered right now, it's gonna get shut down before it even starts. So here's what they did. They gave the rival tribe a false sense of reverse domination. See, what they did is that they would send small raid groups that would not attack, but they would steal horses, a little bit of loot, resources, just stuff that would paranoid the tribe but not make them take any sort of serious action. And as soon as the guards thought that it's just some random thieves, Genghis struck with every man he had, and he struck fast. And just like that, he had stolen enough resources to put up for a fight against this tribe. Now, after gathering the resources, the battle that followed, it wasn't a war. It was more of an organized mess. See, Genghis taught his men that retreat means death, but unity means survival. So his men, they fought like possessed zombies, and the rival tribe was not ready for a smaller force to be this aggressive. And when the dust settled, Genghis had claimed their land, their weapons, and most importantly, their power. And now, just through pure leadership, Genghis had turned from an outcast, a clansman, to the conqueror of a chunk of prehistoric Mongolia. But we know that his empire didn't end here. How did Genghis go from conquering one singular tribe into building the largest continuous empire ever? Well, a big chunk of any leader's success is their salesmanship. It's their ability to tackle the correct problem at the correct time in front of the correct audience and present themselves as the solution. See, Genghis knew that very well, and right now he was under threat that the rival tribes will take back this land from him. So he needed to strengthen his army. And he didn't just do that with fear. He did it with fairness. When the tribe he had just conquered surrendered, he didn't kill the enemies. He offered them food, resources, and a place in his army. And he didn't reward anyone based on their bloodline. No, he rewarded everyone very fairly through their action. And just like that, he had turned his enemies into his soldiers and his soldiers into his believers. And just like that, he had built a system through which he could strengthen his military to a level he could never have imagined. And the rest is his history. He kept on pushing and conquering more and more and more land, eventually becoming the Genghis Khan you know him as. But now, if we were to look at him and boil down any leadership tactics from him, it would all come down to these. In prehand, I want to tell you this. These rules are the rules every single person uses on you when they're telling you just basic cliche rules of leadership. Right now, instead of using them on you, I'm just gonna simply and very blatantly lay them out for you, not on you. The first and most important rule is leadership begins and survives off salesmanship. The better you can sell yourself to be the solution of a problem, the more people will accept you as their leader. 2. This is so important, and it's so disturbing when people don't follow it. You cannot lead people on a path that you are not willing to walk on. They'll simply believe that you are scheming or you're not worthy enough to follow, and they will follow someone who's rooting against you. Now, the third one is a bit of a controversial one, and many people will not agree with it, but people are a lot more interested in stories of leaders who come from rough and small starts. They're a lot more interested in leaders who were like them and now are built up or are building up. It's just a lot more interesting because they can relate to that person and their message. Now 4, if you do not follow this rule, please understand this rule. People will never ever respect a leader who hands all the difficult tasks off to others. So say you're working with your employees. For the love of God, do not just label yourself as the coordinator. Step in and loudly, actively, and proudly take the harder assignment so people can respect you. Now, a final add-on, which isn't something I would expect Genghis Khan to follow, but I really want to talk to you about it. Don't just jump to criticize someone. Even God himself waits till after the very last day. Then he rewards and punishes after real evaluation. So understand someone before you target them. Like we always do, I wrote you the notes of this video. They are in the description. Next Thursday, we'll talk about how Genghis was actually confident and how fake confidence is fucking bullshit.